you the feel sa panaglambing.
ANIA LaSalle Harvest of the Arts Festival. cineANIMO 6 is a digital short film festival in northern Mindanao that highlights unique regional stories, local tales, and world truths.
Let me be the change I want to see, to do with strength and wisdom all that needs to be done, and become the hope that I can be. Set me free from my fears and hesitation. Let the courage and fill me with spirit to face the challenge. Start the change I long to see. Here I start the change I want to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark. Service and communion. Let us start the change we want to see. The change that begins in me. Today I start the change I want to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the star. Service and communion. Let us start the change we want to see. The change that begins in me. Jesus in us. Jesus in us.
Mayong buntag sa tanan. Welcome to cineANIMO Visuals of Cinema Workshop. Before we go further into our workshop, may I ask everyone to please turn on your cameras for us to have a more interactive discussion, even in a virtual space. So please turn on your cameras. Okay, hello again, everyone. I'm Rica Lane Maniego, and I will be your host for today. Now, to formally start our workshop, we give you the festival founder, Dr. Filemon Bonita Blanco, for his opening remarks.
ANIA LaSalle Harvest of the Arts Festival. cineANIMO 6 is a digital short film festival in northern Mindanao that highlights unique regional stories, local tales, and world truths.
cineANIMO Film Festival started with the idea of providing a platform for the students of the special program in the arts, especially in Northwestern Mindanao area. And that was the primary purpose why I organized the festival. Mylene Oriza, who was then the PDO for the Committee on Film, asked me after watching the kids, after watching the Teatro Gindigan perform, na, Sir Mon, do you want to organize a film festival in your university? And of course, knowing me that I love to help the young artists in the area, then suddenly something that popped. Yes, I would love to get that. And that was the start of it. So when we came back to the country after that Indonesia performance, I started conceptualizing. And that was the first time that I wanted to have a branding, a LaSalle branding. And of course, when you talk about LaSalle, you cannot get away the word animo. And then I was, inspired by other films that started with cine, and then you have another term. So then I started to coin the word cineANIMO because I wanted the festival to have its own identity, being a LaSallian festival. So that's why I coined it cineANIMO. And well, at the time before this whole short stint or short visit at the NCCA, I already had something in mind that I wanted to create projects inside the university that would cater to the needs, sort of a supplemental projects, supplemental activities for the students of the special program in the arts in the area. And because of this opportunity to be able to organize cineANIMO, that's when I started conceptualizing it. Now, this cineANIMO is for the students because I know that they are talented young students in the area, but there is no platform for them to showcase. And cineANIMO becomes that platform for students who wants to do film, who wants to do short film, who have the interest in multimedia. That LaSalle University will provide that platform for the students, especially in the Northwestern Mindanao area, to experiment, to play. I always say that LaSalle University is a creative playground, and we want to offer cineANIMO as a creative playground for these aspiring filmmakers in the area. And that's the second, in the second year. That was the time that I wanted to give up already. We didn't have any funds at all. I didn't have any grant anymore from the NCCA. I don't know where. I don't know where I want to get funds. But then Dr. Chedel Johansen Diego, then the director for Culture and Arts Office, she promised me na, don't worry about the funds. I'll help you, get funds. But worry about how you can manage and get as many film submissions as you can. And cineANIMO was sort of really like an in-house thing. And it was purely LaSalle University. Like through, some budgets from other offices, which actually being given as a share to manage the festival. So cineANIMO was really, an in-house thing. That it was really created and made by LaSalle University. From cineANIMO 3, that was the time that we got already our partnership with the Film Development Council of the Philippines, until now. And I think the problem is always how to raise funds. I didn't have any problems in getting film submissions because especially in the third year, for example, we received a lot of submissions. And because of that, you can really say that there is really a need, to sustain this project because it has created already a name of its own. With this, I would like to commend the efforts of the LSU EDMST in continuing this worthwhile festival for the benefit of the young filmmakers in the city of Osamis, in the province of Misamis Occidental, in Mindanao, and in the Philippines in general. Congratulations to cineANIMO. Way to go on your 6th edition this year. Thank you. and enjoy the festival.
Thank you, Sir Mon, for that inspirational message. Now, without further ado, let us now witness the introductory message of our resource speaker, Director Bagani Fiola.
Bagani Fiola is a filmmaker from Mindanao in southern Philippines. His second feature film, Baboy Halas, was selected under the Bright Future non-competition section of the 47th International Film Festival Rotterdam in 2017. It won the NetPac Jury Prize Award during its world premiere at the Q Cinema International Film Festival held in Manila, Philippines in 2016. The film was given a special newcomer award at the Internationales Film Festival, Mannheim, Heidelberg in Germany in October 2017. Fiola is the founder and festival director of the Ngilngig Asian Fantastic Film Festival Davao, the first fantastic film festival of its kind in the Philippines. His previous works include the film Sonata Maria, which won Best First Film at the Young Critics Circle of the Philippines 2014, and several short films which have been exhibited in various regional film festivals.
Ladies and gentlemen, a virtual round of applause for Mr. Bagani Fiola. Wait for our
Oh, hello everyone. Okay na ba? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think there's something wrong with my earbuds. Good morning. Mayong buntag sa tanan. Good morning. I think I need to repeat what I said. No, hindi narinig kanina. So, maayong buntag, everyone. Una sa lahat, maraming salamat cineANIMO, the organizers behind it, and the people behind it for organizing and for inviting me as a resource speaker. I am so happy and I'm so proud now we are still continuing. I've been to cineANIMO, the previous festival, and I witnessed the filmmakers and the audience. It's very inspiring to know that uh, in spite of the pandemic, we're still continuing this advocacy, especially localizing the cinema and introducing the regions, the filmmakers, at what we can do to contribute in the film industry, or to present something that uh, present something a Mindanao cinema. So I'd like to my talk this morning is about visuals of cinema. So ca- uh, can is it can can I if I ask a question, can somebody assist me that's no with this, like pwede ba akong mag-ask ng question and or uh okay, I guess I'll just have to continue. No, baka mamaya meron tayong forum dun na lang. Okay, so I'll continue and introduce to you my slides. Actually, how to share my slides. I'm opening it now. So can someone, paano ba to? How do I share?
Um, the three dots, sir.
Three dots. Okay, thank you. Three dots. Ito. Okay. I just realized na hindi pala ako familiar sa
No, sorry. Next,
uh,
next, next, the three dots.
three dots. Sorry, three dots.
There's like an arrow.
Okay, share the upper left.
A lower set. Just center.
Okay. Um, I have no options here. Meron ng whiteboard, change layout, full screen.
You close it there, tapos, um, can you see the raise hand na option?
Yes po.
Tapos next to it, like the arrow pointing.
Okay. Okay. So dyan ha. And then, this is my screen now. And then, I want to show my slides. How to this one, is it showing? My slide is showing ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I cannot do both windows. Tama ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sige. Pasensya na. I'm not familiar with this. So, okay, this is my slide now. Can you see it in full screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, nakikita nyo din ba ako?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, ayun, visuals of cinema. cineANIMO, this is my slides. I prepared it and until 10. We are now 9:21. I hope we can extend if, mag, ano tayo. Okay, first I want you to watch this trailer from Abbas Kiarostami. Is a filmmaker. And okay, just no details about the just watch it. Just let your feelings go with this trailer, this visual, and without uh, thinking of anything. Just watch it, just experience it. Okay, so I'm playing it now. So I want to ask you, but maybe later na lang during the forum. I wanted to ask you maybe something about the trailer. It's just a small, short trailer of the feature film. Uh, if there is something, a story that was created in your mind while watching the short clip trailer, maybe someone can answer that later. Uh, ano ba yung nakikita nyo from the back of your mind, or from ano ba yung, is it something that help your imagination, uh, ano ba, uh, is there the power of the visual, nag-create ba siya, siguro mamaya we will watch it again because there are some details din na gusto kong, I hope na narinig nyo din yung sound because uh, the sound really helps with the visual. So let's move on, then mamaya we will siguro sa forum babalikan natin and after this. So to share with you my experience, I have prepared filmography para nyo lang makikita na maybe some of you here starting pa sa filmmaking, and we are all the same. Ako nag-start din ako as like wala talagang alam. But in 2009, I started shooting a film na we call this a mid-length film. It's not even shown uh, publicly that much because that time I was not really confident pa. But I shot that film, I wrote it. Um, it's really an experience for me. I started without even knowing the basics of filmmaking pa because I really want to make a film. But eventually I learned because I persisting uh, energy na gusto ko talaga gumawa ng film. So ayun, and in 2010 I gathered my first mid-length film was shown lang siya during the cinema reunion, and I was inspired by watching local films. And I think I can relate sa mga audiences din na makakita kayo ng film na very familiar with you, the language, the places, the people, the events na you're like connected. The difference between the the Hollywood and the foreign film, between the local film. So ayun, and when I uh, back in Davao, I organized, contacted my team to create ngilngig short films. So it's like urban legends, yung stories that we heard from our parents or grandparents na feeling ko hindi nakikita natin sa mga pelikula kasi it's stories from, deep-rooted stories from our ancestors siguro, or the stories ng mga nasa town lang. Ayun. So that was the beginning of the Ngingig Festival also. In 2014, I really parang hindi I really want to learn more. So I made Sonata Maria, a film, a feature film. This is my first feature film. And I gather my friends, filmmakers, and um, I asked them if they are willing, but they're also willing. We don't have that budget that much at that time, but we want to learn and we want to somehow build our portfolio. So while doing the film, we learned the basics of filmmaking, and ayun, luckily we continue, and then naggumawa ako ng documentary Panikupan, and then Baboy Halas, and then Pulangi. And now I'm working with Blaan. Is I shot before the pandemic, months before the pandemic, about the chance of for indigenous community here in Mindanao, and I'm still working it in post production. Ayun, I don't know if when ma-release when matatapos, but hopefully maybe next year. So I'm still learning. I think cinema is always, something learning. We should learn something. It's a visual thing, so it's continuing seeing things the way how we see them. That's at least that's for me. But I have, for the past few years, I have realized that there are I saw the line between the mainstream and the independent. During our time, tinatawag pa namin yung guerrilla or independent filmmaking. But now it's like merging with regional filmmaking, because we don't have an industry here in Mindanao, so we call it regional, or it's also related with the independent, because we don't have big productions here, so we are independent. The mainstream, it's very important to know the difference between these two kinds of filmmaking. Ang daming klaseng filmmaking, but we'll just focus on this. The formulaic, or yung standards na may mga rules. You are working with big production producers. You are pressured with things. If you're not familiar with it, you become pressured. You become challenged to make things way better or leveled with the standard. But there's another kind of filmmaking that maybe most of us here in Mindanao um, became hesitant to make film, because we are always looking up with the standard or the industry. But this is another kind of filmmaking. We call it organic, or something that's within you. Uh, how you see things, your childhood, your memories, everything, and you can translate it into film. It's a long process. You have to develop it, your voice, tinatawag nila na voice. But it's very simple. That is the way where the guerrilla or the independent film started. Also, the famous filmmakers now, they started with small. They started with their personal films. So sometimes we call that personal films. It's very personal. Sometimes you can do it your own, in a small scale, small production, small team, or even you alone yourself can do, as long as it's minimal. Tipid, ano siya, very close to you. Ayun, maybe later we can discuss it. In filmmaking then, mainstream ba or independent, personal, or it's commercial, I have realized that for me, making films, I somehow hindi talaga siya maiwasan. There is always something uh, within you expressing to the film or to the audience that or to the film that you're making. And kahit pa paano, it's always cinema, and cinema always influences the foreign films. Kahit sasabihin natin na iba yung film natin, meron talaga. And in fact, in the first place, cinema is a foreign thing, it's a Western thing. It's always influence us. So we have to watch movies talaga, learn the basic, learn the famous film or the films outside in order to know the basics. But later we can do it on our own. And the third is, meron ng something from you and something for the cinema. And the third one that I realized, parang parts ng filmmaking is something outside. There is always something you can contribute to the audience or to the society, something that you give. Sometimes this is not intended. Sometimes you just put it there, and the audience will interpret it the way how they relate it to the society, to the outside world. And it's the same. These three, uh, shall I call it, parts of filmmaking, inspirations, something from yourself inside for the cinema and outside, is something that will connect everything. And sometimes hindi mo ma-realize na yun na pala yung nangyayari, and sometimes interpretation of others will be different from you. It's like writing a poetry. Once you pour yourself into it, that's something inside, that's something from you. And then you have to learn also to read poetry, read books from outside, from other poet. And then the third is something that somebody will read it and they will interpret in their own, and that is something that you can contribute in your poetry. It's the same with filmmaking. That's how I see it. And since the very basic of cinema is the visual, kahit even walang sound, it's always cinema if it's visual. It's within the frame, how we see things, convert it to photography, music, connect everything becomes cinema. But the very basic of it is the picture, the movement, from the Greek word kinema, movement. You see things moving in the picture, but it's technical, it's very simple, but it started there. Uh, it's like a poetry na visual lang siya. It's just a picture, but then it grows within your imagination, your thoughts, and it grows beyond through audiences. They relate it to their experience, to their memories, etc., etc. And each reader or every viewer has their own film, has their own interpretation of that one picture or one movie. So ang daming interpretation, ang daming movies, iba-ibang version. Kung gaano kadami yung viewers, ganun din ang version ng film, or ganun din ang kadami yung film magiging result or magiging interpretation. Oh, I hope you're still following. Ang hirap kasi na walang parang kausap natin ng laptop lang. But then, ayun, now moving on to next slides. Balikan natin yung history. How did it started? It's really, yun na sinasabi ko, it started with picture. Moving pictures, tawag nila. Kasi it's a series of picture. Someone said na picture is worth 1,000 words, but in movie it's 24 frames per second, then it's worth 1,000 words per images. There's 24 images in 1 second, and if you make a short film or make a full length, there's so much information within the picture. and it's not only the information that you see, but also the information of your imagination, your relationship with a specific picture, or your senses that reaches your senses, and anything that you can feel and express. The filmmaker expresses in the film, and then the audience also the same way. It also expresses themselves, but while even just watching the motion picture, the movie. So ayun, and this is just want to show to you na ito na yun. If you play those pictures, it become a moving pictures. Yung talagang moving pictures, but now it's called cinema. It's called video. Even they call it video. That's digital na ngayon. But it's different. Cinema is different from a video, because cinema involves everything: arts and science, um, uh, music, poetry, writing, literature, performance, acting. So that's cinema. It's everything. Next is I want I want you to watch this short film I made. So can I ask if we're still following? Can somebody tell me if you're still
Yes,
there?
sir.
Can we watch this 6 minute lang na clip? A short film I made. This is art films I shot in 2015. So guys, let's watch this.
Hello, Derek. Wala
Yes
pong
po.
sound.
Wala sound. I-pause
Can
muna. Well,
we show the film in our end, sir?
sige po.
Okay,
So,
okay.
uh, ano ba to? Kayo na lang po. Kayo mag-share.
Okay pa.
Sige. Okay.
Uy, mga Mars! Nabas kay Eyo. Nag-very went to town si Freddy on Jason. Diyan ito nag-jiu-jitsu sa Marili siya hapon. Sa siyang karuhan.
Jula-julam si Shania Twain sa Atchuk Boulevard. Nag-hide and seek sa palarong pambansa si Freddy versus Jason. Yun to, gra. Sa'yo ta mag-clusive ball. Shakira na sok. Magpaibot na Joya. Juden na Jotams!
Miss, hapit na magsarado ang library. Kita na lang na adre. Siganahan ka sabay na ng tauli. Ingat, Miss, ha? Kumitin taon og maayo ng libro. Pang-protekta na sa manigbasay.
Ma'am, mangandado lang ta gate. Ay nagawas ma'am kay delikadong panahon karon.
Okay, I will resume my presentation na. Thank you for watching. Ayun, do you see my ano na ngayon slide?
Yes, direct.
Okay, so ayun, I will not say a lot of things about the movie, but it's all about magic, no? Dagang atik kayang short film, no? Kanang murag imposible siya mahitabo ba? It's impossible na murag dili siya mahitabo in real life. But that's the way how cinema works. If you are familiar with the first moving picture projected in the public, yung this one, the arrival of train. The arrival of train. Ang nangyari dito, takbuhan yung mga tao from the cinema. This is shot by Lumiere Brothers. Ano sila eh. I find this Lumiere brother na para silang mga independent filmmakers na they go from different places to show their videos or their films. So one of this is itong train. Ito yung pinaka first na tayuan, takbuhan yung mga tao because they thought na the train is going towards them. So there's a magic and it continues ngayon, even kahit na mga Hollywood films, there's always magic. So that's a very important. Imagination is the main ingredients of cinema. So nandito din yan sa atin. I will not show na lang. You can find this in YouTube just to shorten our time. Marami pa pala akong gustong sasabihin. Ayun, visual storytelling. This is, ito na yung sinasabi ko, there's magic in cinema. You do not show everything because you leave something, a space for the audience, for them to imagine. Ito yung, this is an example of a film, pagpalagay natin the visual ng isang pelikula na meron siyang beginning, always create a beginning and then an end. Kahit short film lang, or even in full length, meron yung mga parang mini visual storytelling na meron talagang beginning and merong end, merong middle. It doesn't work always na ganun yung sequence. Sometimes yung end ang nauna and then as we go along watching the movies, we discover the beginning of the film. Example of that is Memento, pero ang daming mga pelikula na ganun. Minsan nag-start sila sa beginning, sa middle. But the point of this is there's a magic. If you don't show everything, you leave something for the audience, for their imagination. For this example, the magic happens in the middle of the movie because they will sa kanila na yung imagination kung ano nangyari in the middle or in the end if we change the pattern or the sequence of the film, mauna yung end, ano yung hindi natin ipapakita. Sir Perry Dizon, actor, Mindanaoan actor, sabi niya, I heard this from him na bigyan niyo ang audience ng 1+1. Don't give them the answer. Sa pelikula, ganun din. Huwag niyo ibigay lahat. You don't tell everything. You just show. You don't tell everything also. It relates with the sound, music, visual, production design, dialogues, stories, ganun. You leave it visual. Visual ang pelikula, pero sometimes you don't have to show it to them because they have their own imagination, and that's the real visual of cinema. It happens in every audience. Mayroon pa sanang short film, but I think we're running out of time. It's just a 6 minutes, pero sige lang, let's just skip na lang that. I'll just will be sharing very important in visual language, visual storytelling, the foreshadow and anticipation. Present ito sa stories, sa writing, present. But in cinema, this is very important na kahit walang dialogue, just showing pictures, mas magandang, mas effective pag meron tong mga technique na ganito. Kahit sino, kahit na pinakamagaling na filmmaker, nakikita pa rin natin ito sa kanilang mga pelikula, foreshadow and a backstory. Ayun, sayang lang hindi natin napanood yung short film, but this is a short film about a woman who umuwi ng Davao to attend the burial of her boyfriend, pero hindi na umabot kasi nalibing na, so she just went to the cemetery and nagpakita doon, nag-pray doon. But when she, in the middle of the film, she went to the apartment where they used to stay, and things happened. And then, ayun, and then sa backstory, it was revealed to her sa digital camera na there was something. Maganda sana to panoorin ninyo, pero I'm telling the story na for the sake of explaining the foreshadow and backstory. Na-reveal sa kanya, na-discover niya yung digital camera, na-reveal sa kanya yung past nila. And then later on, she saw the footage of her while she was in the cemetery. So there's a scene in the cemetery na parang may narinig siya. And then that's a foreshadowing for what happened later on in the film, where she discovered the digital camera. Nakikita niya yung sarili niya while hearing something. So it was a sign from her boyfriend to somehow move on. Wala na siya. Parang yeah, it's creating you some beginning, and it will be if the audience malate nila. And it doesn't only happen sa visual, even sa yung dialogue or sa sound, meron kang ilagay doon, and then maririnig siya later on, or meron siyang relationship with ayun, kasi to connect everything visual. Eto, napanood natin, anticipation, something you give to the audience, but parang let them think na kung ano yung mangyayari. You give them the freedom to think kung ano yung mangyayari. Yun ang maganda. Para they will hold on to the film until the end. Parang ganun. Visually, we can dissect some of the films, or we can, if you're filmmakers, we can put it in visually. Kagaya nito, the book was cut sa frame, and then it was shown later part na nakat talaga yung book. It's very subtle, but it has an effect because we saw it in previously, and it's part of our senses. There's a part of the movie, then this short film na the girl is very careful with the book and very careful with her hands, that we anticipated something na special din sa kanya, and then pag may mangyayari, we become attached to it, and that's how we let the audience we create a relationship between the visuals and the audience, and that is also from our relationship with the visuals that we are making sa mga makers. So always, ayun, parang may connection talaga tayo sa ating ginagawa. Importante yan. This is also important with creating a film or watching movies. Meron tayong exposition, climax, and resolution. It's the same as parang 3-act structure. It is where you first exposition, you present everything, and then climax, everything happens in resolution. Sometimes walang resolution ng film because it's the audience who created the resolution with themselves. Yun yung mga creative art film na mga ano. And minsan din resolution yung nauna, or climax yung nauna. Yun yung mga art films. But nowadays, we can create anything we want, and it will become an independent or become a art film. As long as, for me, sabi nga kami, anything that we put in frame, anything na nakikita natin create emotion, that's cinema already. So for example, for the short film that we watched previously, ito yan. Nag-start siya with exposition, presenting the character, ano yung mood ng, this is shot in Davao City kasi yung parang merong mga sa Davao kailangan umuwi ng maaga kasi that was during before stories before sa Davao na gano'n, maraming mga nangyayari, so it's something, this film is something that is has a very important relationship sa experience ko kasi I was in Davao during those times. And then ito, the climax where happens na marami ka ng, you planted some scenes or foreshadowing in the beginning of the film, and then magiging climax siya because everything will be revealed, everything will happen here. And then the resolution, and then ayun, this is like impossible maitabo, but it's the way you want it. You want na ganitong mangyayari because you want your hero to win in your movie. So it's a resolution, something that you want to for the audience to see it. Yung voice mo, yung gusto mong sasabihin mo in visual. Who are the visual storytellers? Those are tayo, filmmakers, or tayo yung gumagawa ng mga pelikula. Because we see stories in pictures through camera and we interpret emotions visually. Merong pelikula na walang dialogue pero tagus. Merong pelikula na hindi nakakatawa pero yung visual niya is walang sinasabi na funny pero yung visual niya is nakakatawa because we relate to it. Meron tayong experience na gano'n. It's very funny for us. So, nakakatakot because it's visual, walang sinasabi pero yung film na ipapakita ko sana kanina, yung about the ghost, walang dialogue yun. Walang ghost na pinapakita. Pero yung imagination ng audience is nandun yung ghost. So, ganun, visual storytelling. It's a visual but sometimes hindi natin kailangan ipapakita visually para magkaroon siya ng effect yung story. This, for example, this is a photograph na nakita ko lang sa internet. This is a farmer, somewhere in India siguro. I think parang nag-ano siya ng palay. I don't know what happened to this. But what fascinates me with this picture is the way it was shot. Commonly, we are outsiders. Cinema is a form of seeing into something. If we are filmmakers, we're always an outsider. Even if we make film about ourselves, we become outsider of ourselves because we are looking into ourselves. This is a shot from an outsider, but a different perspective. Outsider because the one who captured this is not it's not the same with no, hindi siya farmer, hindi siya but he was trying, I think he was or she was trying to create something, a different perspective kasi the usual shot we go to the farm and we shoot farmers the way how we see them, but this I want to ask you kung ano yung nafe-feel ninyo, but for me this is very powerful, the powerful image. It becomes something because why? Because we look up to the subject. Ganun. So parang magandang image siya na madami kang maisip ba na they gave us food, ganun, and we should put them above us because they feed us, they create, they farm, they are the caretaker of the foods or the one that we consume. So we look up to them, parang ganun. So, ayun. This is a film. Ito na yung Sonata Maria na ginawa namin 2014 and independent na it took us 1 year to finish this film because sometimes stop muna kami, hanap muna ng pera, mga gano'n, hanap muna ng sponsor na mag-sponsor ng pagkain namin, gano'n. And everything, wala kaming sweldo dito but we are all the producers, the actors, small team lang. And ayun, I'm showing this because for visual story for a film, we get really inspiration, reference from movies and books and stories. This film is parang ang daming reference itong film because this is a film, my first feature film that this is my school. dito ako nag-aral ng pelikula. I study film by creating a film. So marami talaga siyang reference. I ano yung magandang pelikula na gusto ko siyang ilagay dito because it relates to this magandang. Sometimes yung nakikita natin ng pelikula na magandang formula, magandang effect, feeling natin mas effective pa siya para sa scene na gusto natin. So sometimes mas maganda pa yung nagawa natin. But not really always. Remembering memories, yun ang pinaka-strong kasi na visual eh. Yung memories na kahit childhood tayo, wala pa tayo buot that time, but still lingering in our memory. It's a strong image. So it's very interesting if we put that in our film. Dreams and imagination, I believe yung dreams is always something or past, and also imagination, and it's ang daming pelikula na doon recreating dreams and imagination. Fellini, dami pang mga filmmakers na it's very maganda siya na it's capturing fantastic, not the reality, but because it's a dreams, it's an imagination, it's beyond what is real. It becomes something deeper na nasa soul talaga natin yung capture niya. Revisiting events, places is also became my reference, because if you go to the places, remember mo yung ano yan siya, anong nangyari dyan, anong time, anong events ang nangyayari doon. It's very vivid to you as a filmmaker. You are the only one who can create that scene because you are the only one who saw that scene. So ganun. Places. Finding connection within characters, meron kayong experience with your friend or your relatives or someone you meet, a stranger along the road, na you think their characters are interesting, and sometimes it's very nice if you connect this character to this someone you met before, and it's very interesting if you put it in movie and everything is connected. Ang characters in the movie. You put a character in the movie only if it's an essential character, that every character has something to do with the other character. So when you find connection, it will become visually maganda. Color, shapes, and lights and sound. If we believe in science, colors, the effects of shapes, meron yung mga ang laking tulong, ang laking effect niyan sa pelikula. If we believe, meron yung ibang filmmakers, they believe in colors, the energy of colors. Yung iba spiritual, like for me, I believe in spirit animals, and each of us people, we are represented by animals, and if you look at the character of an animal, it's very interesting. So sometimes ganun yung pagka natin create ng character, and we can create their visual language, the way how they move, the way how they talk, or sometimes dito sa Sonata Maria, I tried, because I'm interested in zodiac sign. I want to learn, so I created this film that the characters of the movies based on at least reference. I took reference in their zodiac sign, so alam mo yung mga birthday nila, yung zodiac sign nila, so that I can create their own personality or their character. So ang dami pa, signs, color, shapes, ang dami pang pwede mong gawin na you can create your own. But it's very important na parang familiar siya sa inyo. Finding your own voice. Mangyayari kasi na there will come a point in time in your life, if you really pursue filmmaking, na ito talaga yung gusto kong gawin. That is your voice. Something that is familiar to you. For me, I made Baboy Halas in 2016, and I even if it's I'm not an IP, but I think it's really close to me. I immerse with the community, and gusto ko din gawin siya na parang iba na parang hindi kagaya ng other filmmakers from outside na they just shoot the film and get something, and sometimes they were labeled as exoticizing. at least we tried to make something na ganun. Pero kahit papaano, you will always, a filmmaker is always from the outside perspective. So, kahit papaano, meron talagang something from you putting into the film. But in the simpler explanation, tatlong parts din sa film ang parang nagiging pattern visual. If we dissect it, merong first part which present the way their lives, no sila hunting, makain, paano sila, their ways of living. This I was the filmmakers here in Baboy Halas were really close to this community Matiksalo Marilog. We went there for almost months preparation, getting to know, learning from them. It's very important for us kasi hindi kami taga Manila na kailangan namin maghabol ng uuwi ka agad, may mga schedule, may mga deadline. So we really immersed and we wanted this to be different. We were in our mind, our audience of this film are the Matiksalo. Yun ang primary namin. So merong mga essential elements dito sa film na like the sound of the birds, the way how they walk, they sleep, and their movements, parang relatable talaga sa Matiksalo na hindi yan sa minsan napapansin ng mga award-giving bodies or birds outside. But yun para sa amin, nagawa namin na for the Matiksalo audience, they can relate to it. And the second part of this film is where the unusual changes, the environment, parang nawala na yung spirituality nila because na-disturb na yung environment. Meron ng mga wars from outsider, meron na from outsider and then magkaroon na ng conflict. So that became the conflict of this film. Exposition yung kanina, conflict, and then the resolution is the last part of the film is the way of nature. Kahit papaano, maiwan talaga there's always the way of nature. Wala man ang tao lahat, nandito pa rin, may way talaga ng nature to survive. So ayun, may animal, may more greens, nature, ang parang nature forest yung character kasi dito sa pelikula. So that's how we created Baboy Halas. And behind the scene, but I don't know if mamaya na lang kung kaya pa. But ayun, gusto ko sabihin ulit, I've often noticed that we are not able to look at what we have in front of us unless it's inside the frame. Ito yung sinabi ni Abbas Kauresmati, and this ends my slides. Time. I hope you learned something, even it's short lang, and thank you everyone for listening. If you have question, then I think may time pa ba tayo for open forum? Ayun lang. Thank you. Are you still there?
Hello, thank you, Mr. Bagani. It was a great pleasure to listen to your wise words and your experience in filmmaking. I'm certain that everyone learned so much about the history of cinema and the visuals of cinema.
Thank
And
you.
now, yes, thank you, sir. And now is the time for you, the participants, to ask questions to our dear speaker. This part of our workshop will be an open forum, so you may press the raise hand button and turn on your video and microphone. Okay, so are there any questions? Okay, Steve, Mr. Steve. You're raising your hand, Steve Empang.
Are we audible now?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. So once again, good morning, all, especially to our resource speaker. We are actually from Northwestern Mindanao State College of Science and Technology. Together with me here on the campus. So some of them are new to the film and this industry. That's why they asked me direct, as newbies daw, actually with styles for beginners in film.
Di ko na, I didn't get the question, parang naputol siya somewhere sa last part. Can you repeat?
They're trying to ask is that since they're beginners in the film, could you suggest or somehow recommend to the students how do they want to start, especially that they're just starting to produce films? So do you have or suggestion for styles or recommendations?
Okay. Suggestions for styles and recommendations, no? This is going to be their first short film, di ba? Short film na ginagawa nila. Siguro to a simple advice, just enjoy, experience the film. Huwag kaagad na parang first pa lang is gusto na kaagad natin magiging award-winning yung film natin. Marami kasing ganun. We start with a very simple process of filmmaking, which is to experience how to learn the film. And for advice siguro on techniques and styles, ayun na, yung meron na yun dun sa mga sinabi ko, but it's just a small part. Ang dami talagang techniques and styles of filmmaking and kailangan i-explore. Minsan mahirap ma-learn if kaagad, gusto natin malaman kaagad, gusto natin kaagad magkaroon ng style. We watch a lot of, manood tayo ng maraming pelikula. Yun siguro ang masabi ko, manood tayo ng maraming pelikula, maraming mga styles. Isa na yun sa mga sinabi ko kanina eh. Anticipation, yung mga 3-act structure, yung mga exposition, climax, yun. And you attach yourself talaga sa visuals. Very important. Since this is a visuals of cinema, very important ang visual. Kasi kahit maganda yung story, even a good writer, maganda yung book niya, maganda yung story niya, but paggawa ng pelikula na hindi maganda yung visual, pangit, nagiging sayang yung kanyang story kasi hindi maganda yung visual. And everything you put in the frame, something na essential, something na connect, related, something that you can connect, something na may emotion. And the only thing you can identify the only way you can identify na may emotion yung, kasi tatanungin natin, paano magkaroon ng emotion yung visual? Paano, how do we do that? The only way you can create visual na para sa'yo is filled with emotion, is something that is coming from you. For example, your experience or your dreams, yun na sinasabi ko kanina. For example, your experience. The first time na meron, siguro lahat naman tayo dito nagka-experience ng first na ma-in love, di ba? So ano yung images na nakikita niyo when you first felt or something, natakot kayo, first time yung natakot, ano yung images na natakot kayo, ano yung ma-remember ninyo? And that is the only way na masasabi ninyo na puno ng emotion yung visual ninyo. Kasi kayo mismo yung nakaka-experience nun. You serve yourself first when you make your film. Kasi at the end of the day, the film is the voice of a filmmaker. So, ayun lang. Be sincere siguro sa parang it's a ano na question, no? Be sincere. Wow, yan parang oh, but it's really important kasi kung hindi din tayo wala yung hindi tayo sincere sa ginagawa natin, parang ginagawa lang natin for other reason, mawala yung attachment natin sa visual. So visual is very important. And don't be afraid to explore kahit anong klaseng visual. Mas maganda kung visual na hindi pa nagawa. Don't be afraid. And don't be afraid na hindi siya magustuhan ng audience. Kasi I'm sure talaga na lahat ng pelikula meron talagang kahit na famous director, meron talagang tao na ayaw nila yung pelikula na yun kahit sikat na siya. Kahit si Tarantino yan, marami din yang haters. Marami siyang hindi nakagusto sa kanyang mga pelikula. So don't be afraid. Kasi kahit papaano, sa kadami-daming audience, meron talagang audience for your film na gagawin. So I hope may magandang mensahe ang kasi yun lang masasabi ko. Continue making films lang. Don't be afraid.
Okay, thank you, Sir Bagani. Next is Mr. Easy Martin Maxino. What's your question?
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to, I'm not a filmmaker. I'm an intellectual property lawyer, but I want to know, the mind behind a filmmaker. What goes on your mind. So my question really is, what are the films you admire? Maybe one film or two films that you have found to be profound, or films that have moved you in an entertaining way.
Good morning, attorney. Medyo magandang question, no? Ang daming magagandang pelikula talaga that really move me, and it's every generation iba-iba eh. When I was a child, I think Star Wars, the first Star Wars, kaya ganyan ako katanda. The first Star Wars and I think that was the first time I saw movie in cinema. Parang something, yung first Star Wars lang. But then later on, as I grow older, parang nagiging mature din yung mga pelikula na pinapanood ko. Siyempre parang I learned to appreciate Kurosawa. I learned to appreciate films that is outside Hollywood, outside mainstream. Even there was a time na na-consume ako ng mga Asian films, Thai films, Japanese film. And it's parang ang hirap sasabihin kung ano yung pelikula. But to mention a few, siguro Kurosawa talaga, Abbas Kiarostami, and Theo Angelopoulos. Ayun. For my film, siguro, yung Sonata Maria, ang daming reference, ang daming favorite ko that time na Wong Kar-wai, Before Sunrise, yung mga independent film because I want to make a low budget film. So ganun yung interest ko. And then when I made Baboy Halas, I was watching, parang na-obsess ako sa mga indigenous film, Apocalypto, dami pa yun, yung mga documentary film. And then yung parang I watch film because I want to learn the technical, the basic, and I want to apply the techniques also sa film. But there's always something, if you are a filmmaker, there's always something na sometimes you can create your own technique or style because yun nga, organic yung maganda na ginagawa natin. Ayun, sir, ang daming, and then Filipino films na favorite ko is yung nasa mind ko pa rin hanggang ngayon is yung Misteryo sa Tuwa. Ano na lang, hanapin nyo if you're not familiar, but it's really, I'm writing a feature film which I was parang ito yung obsession ko ngayon na magiging reference for visual reference. So, ayun na, thank you for asking that question.
Thank you po. I really appreciate the answer po.
Sir, easy. Next from NMSC.
From NMSC, and we want to know that this is my question. What are you doing or making short films?
I'm sorry, naputol doon sa question talaga. Can you repeat?
What influences you in a short film?
What influenced you a short film? Naputol doon part na yun.
Influences you in doing or making a film?
A film? Paano ba yan? I'm scanning the past. Because I think there's no other way to express. For me, this is the way. Kasi lahat tayo, human beings, we want to express, di ba? We want to express ourselves. And for me, I have come to realize na for me, it's film. And there's no other way for me, no turning back for me, because I'm already here. And ayun. During that time na hindi pa ako na-introduce sa film, I make stories in my mind. I tried to write, but hindi ako marunong mag-write that time. So there are we have stories in my mind. Sometimes it's just our memory of our past or our experiences. Marami akong ganun. I grew up in Cagayan and we transferred in North Cotabato. So from a city boy, ano kami sa province, and then I was introduced to these fantastic stories na for me it's very fantastic kasi outsider ako. May mga stories na mga ganito, they're mga fantastic na story, and maybe because I'm at a younger age, hindi ko pa naiintindihan lahat, so meron akong mga interpretation sa mga stories na hindi ko naiintindihan. And then when I become a filmmaker, I was exposed to a community of filmmaker here in Davao. I learned film, and then I was amazed by the movies, Manila movies, mainstream movies. I watch a lot of movies. But then when I was making my own film na, I realized that there is much more to that. It's the story that it's from me or from a filmmaker na yun talaga ang pinaka-unique. So I scan through my past stories, memories, ganun, and then ayun na, nagiging part siya ng aking filmmaking, and it became my inspiration to preserve these stories or to make voices or create stories that's been in my experience. And the only way for me is to make a film. Yun lang po.
Excuse me, Direk.
Yes po.
Follow-up question, sir.
Sige po.
Just for motivation lang po, Sir Paranamo, what have you felt or what was your feeling doing or shooting your first film? Have you doubted yourself or unsa ba?
Of course, there was, for me, sa ako ang time, na-adjud ko doubt because there is sa communities of film, there is a Davao. I was not the one na parang confident talaga maghawak ng camera, mag-lens, confident talaga mag-usap sa kasama namin about film. I'm quite shy because hindi ako exposed pa. But because I have stories na gusto kong i-tell, then I try to learn. Ako mismo yung nakikinig sa kanila and maraming tanong, and then books, I read books talaga. I want to learn more about. Later na ako nakahawak ng camera. Even when I was shooting a film, hindi pa ako technical that time. Hindi ako marunong That's why yung first mid-length film ko, hindi siya masyadong maganda yung sound, yung pero I was even told by a German critic when it was shown in cineMANIMO in Manila na flat yung film ko. Walang nangyayari. Siguro hindi talaga, hindi pa kasi ako marunong eh. But then I didn't give up. I continue making films. In fact, nung bumalik ako sa cineMANIMO, pinalabas yung film ko. Nakita ko siya ulit and parang hindi ko na siya nakausap. Ayun lang, marami talagang motivation talaga natin is yung sarili natin, yung gusto natin, kasi walang makakapigil nun kundi tayo lang if we stop. So just continue and don't be afraid talaga. Because for me, cinema is something always creating. It's the way of seeing things. And each and every one of us has our own way of seeing things. So, ayun, importante talaga yun, yung tinatawag nila na voice. Maybe later on, we become to realize kung ano yung voice natin, or maybe hindi talaga natin mahanap yung voice natin. But the important thing is we always try to learn, we always try to see things the way we want to see, or the way we want our audience to see our own ways, our own expression, or an experience. So, ayun lang. Parang yung mga film, yung mga workshop is parang ano lang talaga. We learn from it. We learn the technicals. We learn the standards. We learn everything. But something within us, within you, is something na unique talaga. Yun ang cinema na maganda. Kasi before naman talaga, during that time na hindi pa maraming cinema, a filmmaker will make a film because wala pang nakapanood nito, wala pang nakakita. I want to make this film kasi wala pang pelikula na ganito. Nowadays, gusto kong gumawa ng pelikula kasi nakita ko yung maganda yung pelikula niya. So it's parang recycled siya. But we should be motivated with something we want to show na hindi pa natin nakita. And we'll get inspiration from the things that we see around. Ayan lang.
Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. I hope all your questions were answered by Mr. Fiola. And I'm sorry that we're almost out of time, so we'll move on to our next segment. So to show our utmost gratitude and appreciation to our speaker, Mr. Bagani Fiola, may I call on our cineANIMO co-director, Mr. Earl Hendrik Reyes, to present to you the certificate of appreciation.
Hello, hello everyone. Thank you so much for participating in the Visuals of Cinema workshop. It has been truly delightful for us at cineANIMO. No? We are very happy that a lot of people have joined and very participative, no, yung mga, and very active yung ating mga participants. So, well, as we really appreciate the words or the learnings that we have obtained from our very special resource speaker, no, Mr. Bagani Fiola. So hereby with me is the certificate of appreciation for our resource speaker. So I will be reading the citation. Certificate is presented to Mr. Bagani Fiola as resource speaker on the cineANIMO workshop Visuals of Cinema, presented at Lasal University via Google Meet. Yun, pati yung certificate natin, virtual din. Presented on May 12, 2022, signed Erlandrix Reyes, co-festival director of cineANIMO, Rian Gresham Amakna, co-festival director of Musicanimo, Syra Apple-Narit, co-festival director of Sulatimo, and Ted Najid Takan, which is the festival director of ANIA. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation, sir, and we really learned a lot from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Salamat.
Salamat po. Good luck, everyone. I hope to see you, or I hope to see your films in the future.
Speaking of films, no, the films will be streamed next week, May 16 to 20, sa mga nandito, via ftcpchannel.ph. So we have 15 selections for student category and 15 selections for open category, and these are very great films. Syempre, napanood ko na. Magaganda yung mga films natin this year. And ayun, thank you so much for being here. Balik ko na kay Rika.
Once again, thank you, Sir Fiola, for your interactive discussion. So before you leave the meeting, let's first watch the ANIA opening billboard. Okay, and that concludes our workshop. Thank you to our speaker again, Mr. Bagani Fiola, for sharing your time and talent to our aspiring artists. I'm sure everyone learned so much from today's talk. Also, we would like to thank our festival director of Cinema and cineANIMO, Mr. O. Hendrix Reyes, and the rest of the team. And of course, to our dearest participants from regions 9 and 10, LaSallian students, thank you so much for participating. But before I show the QR link, I would like to encourage everyone to turn their cameras on for picture taking for documentation purposes. Okay, 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, again. 3, 2, 1, smile. QR code for attendance and for the LSU students and evaluation form.
mater, hail, hail, hail. Hail, hail, alma mater, hail to the star. We'll hold your banner high and bright, the shield of green and white. We'll fight to keep your glory bright, and never shall we fail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, hail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, 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 alma mater, hail to the star. We'll hold your banner high and bright, a shield of green and white. We'll fight to keep your glory bright, and never shall we fail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, hail. Hail, hail, alma mater, hail to the star. We'll hold your banner high and bright, the shield of green. Your glory bright, shall we fail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, hail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, we'll fight to keep your glory bright, and never shall we fail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail,